Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be reviewing a base model manual Wrangler. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Large Miller Dodge Ram Jeep Crosser here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Wrangler. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 3.6 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed manual transmission. Fuel economy is 17 around town and then 25 on the highway with power outputs being 285 horsepower and then 260 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting off with the hood, this is a sport, and so yeah, pretty basic with the overall design. You've got the turn signal indicator built into the fender there, and then you guys can see with the headlights, they are halogen, and then we've got Jeep's signature front grille here, all body painted. Recovery hooks here on the front end as well, and then you guys can see the fog light action there on the bumper. And when you put it all together, well, it looks like a Jeep. Now, coming around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 245, 75, 17 in the front and over in the rear. And you guys can see the coloration on the wheels. They are silver, and I think it goes with the overall theme of this particular Wrangler. And then even though this is a sport, we got to kind of tuck under here. We have solid front axle and then a solid rear axle as well. Now, I got the big fender flares here, and then you guys can see with the badging here on the side. And then look at the mirror caps also kind of match the door handles, and then the hard top as well. And then here's your full side view with this Wrangler Sport. Definitely looks cool with the two-door. Now here's a quick look at the key fob. Pretty simplistic. Got the Jeep logo, lock and unlock, and then little flip-out key as well. And then popping to the back, you guys can see we've got Jeep's tailgate here with the JL logo there. Well, not the logo, but a little graphic. Anyways, plenty of storage space. Just kidding. It's a two-door. It doesn't have nearly as much as the four-door, but I mean, it's still somewhat practical. Still got the cool cage and how that's painted, or body painted rather, is pretty cool. There we go. And of course, gotta close this. Really light because we got a pretty small spare tire being a sport and all of that. Got the baseline taillights, recovery point there in the back as well. Putting it all together, you know, you got to give respect to the Sport. It's just cool looking. It's not crazy like the Rubicon, but still looks good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see the padding here, and then we got our door lock and unlock. And then we've got the adjustments here for the mirrors. Now before we go over the seats, I do want to mention the payload capacity, 700 pounds. And this leads us to the seats you guys can see with the darker cloth. And then you've got all of your manual adjustments here on the side. And then you do have this up here that allows you to kind of pull the seat forward. You do have to pull the lower bar though, so that you can like fully pull it forward. And this will allow you to get into the back seat area. You can see we've got some vent action back here. We've got some cup holders down below as well. Got some like carpeting here, but we don't have like an official armrest, which is kind of strange. And then you have these cloth seats here in the back, but being a Jeep, headroom's good. Now some other quick stuff. You guys can see we've got our light controls here. Steering wheel is manually adjustable as well. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, we actually have really nice padding all around. Radio controls on the back. We've got our cruise controls for the center stack, and then we have our phone controls and voice command controls as well. Turn signal stock, and then we have our windshield wiper stock. And then here is the center gauge cluster. You guys can see the analog gauges on either side. Then you have that little screen there in the center to give you different bits of vehicle information. Let's see if this has the off-road stuff too. Yeah, it does. Even with the Sport, you got the off-road stuff. That's pretty legit. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. And you guys can see the infotainment system, so obviously all sealed off, which is really nice. Got your dual zone climate in this one. Overall response time with the screen is pretty rock solid. It does take a second for some stuff to load up though, that's for sure. We got Jeep's signature circular vents, and then you guys can see with the dash how it's gray. Got the grab handle down below. And then we have our analog controls for the radio, dual zone climate. You've got your auto stop start, stability control, window controls here in the center. I feel like the filler switches, because this is made for forward window switches. Anyways, you can see charging ports action. And then we do have four-wheel drive, so we have, well, man, that glare. Four-wheel high and four-wheel low. And of course, we got the transmission for the 6-speed manual. That's reverse, by the way, as you pull up on the tab and then you push it. We'll kind of talk about this more during the driving portion, but save the manuals, right? We've got some cup holder action here, parking brake, and then you guys can see with the center console, got some USB action inside of that, and then I almost forgot to go over the glove box. And then we do have a manual mirror dimmer up top, and then this one's got the hard top. You've got little latches here to take off this portion. The back, you do have to use tools. So here's our window sticker for this Wrangler. You guys can see base MSRP is $31,195, and we've got all of the standard equipment with it. And then you guys can see the optional packages on this particular one. Total MSRP on this one is $41,565. Let's see how it drives. Talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear, and well, guys, manual transmission. Wait, that was kind of an awkward transition there. Anyways, so this is really just like a relic of another time is what I've been thinking about as I've been reviewing this, because back in the day, right, every single vehicle was pretty much body on frame, solid axles, manual transmission, and now like this is it. Like, I can't think of another vehicle, at least here in the US market. I know some people that, you know, are subscribed to this channel that live elsewhere and gonna be like, Ben, they build all sorts of vehicles like this elsewhere. And well, the US is different, I suppose. we don't like manuals and body on frame construction and solid axles. But yeah, seriously, like, I mean, you can get heavy duty pickup trucks that have solid axles, but you can't get an HD truck with a manual anymore. So like, yeah, again, this is just from a different time. So first off, what I will say is the two-door is definitely rougher riding compared to the four-door. There is a perceivable difference between them. I just realized that Chrysler 300 has an SRT badge. I wonder if that's an actual, or if that's just like a badge swap. Suspicious, suspicious, suspicious. Anyways, manual transmission's really good. It's easy to drive. Now, first gear is basically a crawl gear. So, I mean, a lot of people driving these will start at a second. If you don't start at a second, you start at first, you're pretty much going to be going straight from first to second. Again, first is more of a crawling gear. I will say, even though this, like, the actual shifter itself is super tall, really easy to use. It's notchy into the gates. So it's actually a pretty good manual. I wouldn't necessarily say it's fun by any means, but I think it's pretty good. It's easy to use and all of that. Yeah, super notchy. I love the notchiness into the gates. I think that's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, aside from that, yeah, look at that. First gear really is a crawl gear. But it's super easy to use overall. It's a good transmission. It does feel weird with the reverse lock out there. Kind of, I feel like the shifter head, I don't know, maybe it's just because I have big hands, but I feel like the shifter heads should be a little bit either larger or smaller. It's in this weird, like, awkward kind of in-between size. Not quick, but driving the manual, you kind of don't care how quick it is. It's just fun to drive. So to sum things up here with this base model Wrangler with the manual, I think this thing looks pretty cool. It's a sport, so it's not too crazy on the outside. I do like the basicness of this. Like, it just has this sturdy feel to it, right? And yeah, it drives well. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. So yeah, if you are looking for an old school driving experience here in the US market, I think this is it. Like, this is like, outside of sports cars, obviously there's some sports cars that, you know, provide a more analog experience, but outside of sports cars, this is like the last, you know, analog experience that you can get with an SUV or a truck here in the US market. Everything else is a lot more modern, a lot more cushy, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different. I mean, I haven't driven one of these in years, I think, or a while at least. Easy to just pop in and drive it. Great manual overall. So yeah, cool that Jeep still offers this.